Alright guys, yet another personal opinion review. After testing the 7 different clock DPS specs on the alpha, we have Destro, Demo, Affliction, Shadow, Fire, Frost, Arcane, all tested. And now how are they faring, guys? That's what this is about. This is the order I feel they should be in, not only for damage output but for just general fun of the class. And again, this is how they're playing currently in alpha. So this is all based by a PvE perspective, guys, and should be considered just a fun ranking more than anything, with it still being testing. Alright, so let's start with number 7, Frost. This spec really seems driven by haste, guys. The long cast times and new brain freeze proc for Frost Orb seems a bit lackluster for this once fun spec. Fingers of Frost still makes Ice Lance do some insane damage, and Glacial Spikes, which is a new talent, does some great burst also. It's just not enough to currently save this spec from last place. With more haste, the gameplay will more than likely change, giving the spec a chance to shine, the chance it deserves to shine, guys. And not only making this class the cast times more bearable, but it seems like it'll give it more procs with you getting the more casts out. The hugest problem I have is the new Brain Freeze no longer procs Frostfire Bolt, because that doesn't exist. You have Frozen Orb, and it procs a new Frozen Orb, and Frozen Orb's still on a 1-minute cooldown. So if you don't get this proc, you're screwed. That's all there is to it. You're just absolutely screwed, and there's nothing to really end up doing about it. Also, Frozen Orb still travels really funky. They need to get this thing up off the ground and maybe have it travel through the air so it stays in a better line. I don't know what they need to do, but it feels like it can end up working, guys. They just need to do some little bit of tweaks, and then this thing will start moving up. But currently, it's absolutely, completely 125% the slowest spec I have played in a very long time. The lack of procs due to the lack of haste, and again, this may change just with getting secondary stats. But it really hurts, guys. It really hurts. Fingers of Frost has had a rework, so it not only does increase damage, but it has another increased damage modifier to help even out this situation, I guess. But then you still got to get those procs also. So again, guys, not going to stay on it too long. This can be fixed, and fixed fairly quick. We're going to move on to number 6, Fire. Currently, they need to shit crit, just like on live. Alright? Basically, if they don't have crit, they don't get the flaming up procs, and they don't get to do the extra damage. And you are more reliant on this extra damage than ever before. With more crit and haste, this spec will be tossing more fireballs and proccing like crazy, the way it seems to be playing. Most of your dots will spread naturally now, so you don't have to use Infernal Blast to end up spreading a Living Bomb, which it's there in a talent, but it spreads itself. Basically, it blows up, and then it spreads to everything that it ends up doing damage to, and so on and so forth. It can only spread once, so if you've ever played Hot Scale Thos, that's all I gotta say. Same Living Bomb setup as that. Ignite. Every 2 seconds, it automatically spreads itself also. So nothing to worry about on that situation either, guys. Every 2 seconds, it'll jump to another person, another person, another person. The main thing they want you to use Infernal Blast for now, it's got 2 charges. It does, I believe it's a 15-second recharge on them. But what this is mainly used for now is to making sure you can get that flaming up proc, and getting that either free Pyroblast or Flame Strike, whichever one you need it for, whether AoE or not. And when you get that, it's not only going to do, let's say you hit Pyroblast, and normally it would give 2,000 ignite damage, alright? Let's say it ends up doing 2,000 ignite damage when you hit it. It's going to do 4,000 during that proc period. So it increases your dot damage also. Huge deal, guys. You want to definitely make sure you're getting those procs, and that's why I say haste, or crit and haste, are going to be the better for the spec at this moment, and leaving mastery behind. because if you have a boss that goes immune or invulnerable, all that damage is wasted. So let's just take that. Another piece that's really kind of getting to me is the combustion. Instead of it being a game playing, here's your dot stuff, they have changed it so you no longer end up having to worry about wasting that combustion or making sure the stars align perfectly right. What ends up happening now, guys, is whenever you end up hitting combustion, you burst into flames, and it increases your crit. Basically, everything you cast is going to crit, but it also increases your mastery up to what your crit rating is. So it's a mastery boost and a 100% chance to crit over 10 seconds. Huge damage increase, but the thing you got to look out for, yet again, is make sure it's a timing deal to where you're not going to lose this extra dot damage. So instead of making another dot, guys, basically they're improving on the ones that you already have. It's a pretty good little deal. So moving on, it's really good. You got to make sure you're timing stuff right still. Haste and crit look like they're going to dominate over mastery. But mastery should still be considered for like trash or possibly cleave fights. And with that being said, guys, we are going to move on to number 5. Affliction. I really can't say too much, guys. Not many changes to the spec, and it doesn't have its fun moments when you're. I mean, it does have its fun moments when you're against multiple mobs, because you're just dotting the crap out of everything. You're getting a lot of procs. Your procs now come through agony. From what Blizzard was saying is your dot start off first tick, it's 2.5% chance for a soul shard, then it goes on to 5% chance, and then 7.5, so on and so forth, and so it's kind of got a ramping ability. Really nice. It does work well, but it works well on multiple targets. Just kind of like how it does in live right now. The more you have up, the better you're doing. Unstable Affliction is now your new nuke. You can either use this and just let it do slow damage over time, or you can basically throw every last soul shard you have into this, and it's going to be your soul shard spender. And what you're going to do is, just as you throw this up there, it's going to increase the amount of dot damage. What it'll do is take what's there on the Unstable Affliction, and the new one you cast, it'll add it to it, and it'll keep adding to it, and keep adding to it, and keep adding to it. And you can make this thing to where it'll do, I think the highest I've had it at level 110, I think I was doing like 100,000 damage per second with this thing. And it seems like a lot, but it doesn't last very long. And it slowly starts ticking off because all it's doing is adding these together. And as one ends, it'll end up dropping down a little. So, very good, very fun gameplay, guys. Very enjoyable. I don't have a lot to say on this except for they are going to be the master of cleave fights, council style fights yet again, because of how much damage they can do, and with more mobs up, the more procs you're gonna get for soul shards. The more. Single target though, this thing still sucks. It's so damn boring. Single target. You're basically waiting forever to get a proc because it just doesn't seem like you ever get them, even if you are playing with like the little mirror image talent to where it's, I can't remember what it's called, but mirror something I think, and you've got basically a clone of the boss or a mirror of the boss, and you can keep it dotted along with the boss dotted. It still doesn't seem like it's enough to keep the gameplay alive. Single target. But on the council fights, any multi-mob fight, guys, that they're actually living, this thing is going to rock some shit. And it plays very nice whenever you can get the procs. But until then, we're going to move on to number 4, which is going to be Destruction. I'm hearing many people are hating on this spec's changes. And that's unfortunate because there's no reason to hate. Just enjoy what it is. Single target, it does very well. The rotation of single target feels about the same, but instead of building embers and firing them off, you're building soul shards, and you're having to weave your Chaos Bolt into your rotation instead of just burst. You're actually weaving this thing and playing it a little bit differently. It's kind of got more of that wax and wane situation where you're going to want to build up and then just kind of slowly toss one off, build up, slowly toss one. It's fun, guys. I enjoyed this gameplay. I know a lot of people are hating on it. I mean, it plays very well, and with the few mental changes and the rift gameplay, I mean, I love tossing these rifts out. They look cool as shit. But it can be like hitting the lottery with them, because currently there's one that way outweighs the others. And if you're lucky with it, the RNG factor will actually play well with you. But hey, RNG is RNG. It's in every single game. It's just a matter of how you end up taking it. But there's 3 different rifts, and some better than are better than the others. You've got one that does a Chaos Bolt. You've got one that does like Demon Fire, and one that does like a Shadow Bolt thing. And the Demon Fire one currently is like destroying everything else. So Destro has never been my favorite lock spec. Alright guys, I usually try and avoid it with a passion. But it's always been a good spec to play endgame, usually. And I can't see the mild changes they did will make any of that any different. The play on it is pretty rotational. It's very wax and wane. It doesn't hurt. It feels a lot like how it used to be on Blizzard, Blizzard in BC, when every 4th cast you seem like you're just reapplying Immolate. So they want you to focus on that Immolate game. When Immolate does damage, it gives you, hold on. It's got a 15% chance whenever it does damage to give you a soul shard back, and then if it crits, it's got a 30% chance. That's what I was trying to say. But it doesn't seem bad, guys. It really doesn't. It seems like a very good spec to play, and it plays very well. You can talent yourself for a very basic gameplay, or you can do more of that weaving rotation I was talking to help keep your buffs up through doing certain abilities, and it just gives it a more fluid feel if you end up doing that way. But again, guys, it plays well, and the damage seems to be doing just fine. Their survivability is insane due to the new Soul Leech stuff that they can end up speccing into. But with that being said, we're going to go on to number 3, Shadow Priest. Shadow Priest, oh Shadow Priest. A lot of people hating on this one too. But this was very hard to place, and the only reason number 2 beat it out was because of the damage number 2 can do. That's the only reason why this did not hit number 2. It was very close. All of these have been very close, actually. But the spec is awesome, guys. The changes have made this go from a dull whiner spec about, I ain't got any orbs, I can't do anything, to fuck the orbs, build insanity, and go void form, alright? Basically, you're taking a train to fuck Itsville and derailing everything in your path. It's fun, guys. It's very fun. Basically, you're going to end up, when you hit void form, you're going to take the boss out to dinner just before you rape it kind of spec, alright? It's really done a huge improvement. No more whining about orbs. Oh, I can't do this until I build up so many orbs, or blah, blah, blah. Whatever you kind of issue you gave your raid leader in the past, you don't have to worry about that. The damage is pretty damn good. And basically, it's a whole new spec to play. It's revolved around building insanity and staying in void form. So you have what you're used to of throwing up your dots and just doing your mind flay or mind spiking or whatever you're talented to end up doing. Alright? You've got that play, and then you've got a completely different play of whenever you go into void form. And what you're going to do is stay into void form as long as possible. There's certain abilities you can end up hitting and casting that make sure this stays up. You've got Void Bolt, which will end up refreshing your dots, so you don't have to worry about that. You've got your Mind Blast, which when you're in void form, the cast time is reduced by 3 seconds, so you really don't have to worry about that. You have your Mind Spike or Mind Flay, which you really won't end up using too much. You have Shadow or Death if it's close to dying. And then you've got Torrent, Shadow Torrent, which is from your artifact ability that completely stops it from doing anything and just does some huge nuking number. Guys, there's so many different ways to stay into this void form. The highest amount of stacks I think I've gotten from staying in was like 36 seconds, and it was huge damage. But this spec will tear down a single target mob with ease, unlike its brother. I mean, it's going to destroy stuff, guys. And Hentai will 100% agree that this new look with the tentacles and all that stuff is just insane. But you still have your survivability and utility, guys. You can still bubble yourself. You still have dispersion. You have Vamp Embrace. Your Vampiric Touch heals you now. So you don't have to worry about losing out on that heal for not having Devouring Plague. It's all really good stuff. And you can help way more than other specs also just by having Mass Dispel. There's a lot of fights where dispelling is an issue. And you can still do great DPS all in the same time, guys. This is a fun spec, and it is doing very well. But with that, we are going to move to number 2, the Arcane Mage. I never thought I would place this thing as high as I did. But guys, the spec is exactly the same with one really huge difference. No penalty on mana. That's right. The new mastery increases mana regen and mana pool, but no longer increases your damage based on what percent your mana is at. Just nuke all day long, guys. Basically, I spent most of my 5-man fights running my mana out on Arcane Blast, then evocating back up to do it again with Arcane Power that now reduces mana cost of spells by 30% and increases their damage. Then I would run a normal rotation at 15% mana and still destroy the competition. It almost felt unfair. It felt really unfair, guys. They don't have the secondary holdback like Frost and Fire do. They're just tearing it up. And basically I would run it at 15%, just waiting for cooldowns, and then I would do it all over again. And with the mastery buildup, basically you're gaining mana if you're running a normal 4 and then 4 arcane charges and then blasting it off with barrage. You would actually gain your mana back, so you'd be able to run this full nuke it down situation while you waited for your cooldowns. Absolutely insane. And then you have the magic missiles that you're going to want to play off of 4 arcane charges yet again. Guys, there's nothing I can really end up saying about this spec except they have completely taken the noob factor out of it. You can play this the same way no matter where your mana's at. You don't have to watch your mana. You don't have to control your mana. You can just destroy the shit out of everything. And you have no restraint. Secondary stats are just going to make you even stronger. That's all there is to it. And there's no restraint right now. There's nothing proccing off of it. The more mastery you have, it's going to increase your mana pool. With the increased mana pool, you're going to be able to do more damage off of your arcane prison from your artifact weapon, and just do more and more and more. Absolutely insane, guys. The gameplay on it also being that you don't have to stress and do the tedious little stuff to end up getting the numbers, made it a little bit more fun and less stressful of taking a chance of fucking up. But that being said, it also took a lot of the skill level down also. But it's still fun to play. It is very fun to play. And the damage is extremely high, and that's why it got number 2. And it's just absolutely insane, guy. It's got really high hopes for top-end rating. And the reason for it is because it's just a super easy spec for single target damage. AoE, there are better specs to end up doing, but they rank very high on AoE also. Arcane Blast, or Explosion, sorry. Now every time you end up hitting something with it, it gives you an arcane charge, and then Barrage, it still does its cleave. So, huge damage, guys. And with that, we are going to move on to number 1. The Demonology Lock. Oh yeah, it's here. The Demo Lock completely revised from live, and it feels oh so good. Oh yeah. It's really good, guys. Playing a Demo Lock on live, I enjoy it, but with the changes, it no longer fits the class fantasy that Blizz wants. Thinking this spec was going to be butchered and destroyed, I was really in a bind when I started playing this spec, and I played it a lot. It's fun, guys. It's really fun. I went into this thinking it was going to be trash, and I was very wrong. The new rotation on this, and basically massing your demons, makes it awesome to watch your little mini horde go at it against whatever you're attacking. Keeping the imps, fellstalkers, and your Felguard up and buffed at all times is your job as their master. That's right, you are the master of demons, alright? Not the masturbator, but the master of demons. And it's just wrecking havoc, guys. Basically, it's insane. What you're looking at doing is, I really felt like I was playing D2 again as the Necromancer, and just keeping up all my minions and wreaking havoc on everything, keeping them buffed. It was just absolutely insane. This feels like it's been the best spec in WoW in years after revamp. You've had a lot of revamps that have just completely killed things, but this one has... It's fucking awesome. It's really fun, guys. Just getting the stuff built up and going. I really enjoyed myself. And I'm actually glad to say that they did this change to Demo, because it was something fresh. And Demo on live currently doesn't get the respect it should, because it is kind of complicated. This takes some of the complication out, but not a lot. You're still doing a very good rotation with it. And again, I might be a bit biased because being Demo on live and loving the Necromancer in D2, but it still feels really, really good. And the damage is great. I never had a single fight to where I was underneath anybody, as long as we are on comparable levels. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did making it. It was a really fun piece for me to finally get out, and I know many will disagree with what I've posted, but remember, it's in for the fun and the enjoyment. Thanks as always, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll try and be getting something a little bit more out for the other DPS specs here pretty soon. And again, guys, thank you very much. If you did enjoy yourself, go ahead and toss it a like and a subscribe.